Let's rank every book I've read since starting this channel. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we have a very fun video where we will be going through all of the books that I've read, all the books that you guys have recommended, all the books that Reddit has recommended since starting Eric Bowden Books a little over a year ago. We have all of the books here divided into 4 stacks, which represent 4 categories. We have S tier, which are books that I absolutely loved and that I would probably reread over and over again, books that I really enjoyed to mildly enjoyed, books that I did not enjoy, and then books that I did not finish. Now, I don't have every single book I've read on this table because I thought that I would just pick one book per series, which is my favorite book in the series, and talk about that and then maybe the series as a whole. I just thought it would be way too many books in one video to try and get through. So that pretty much explains what we have going on here. The last thing I'll say is this is not a ranking of which book is better than the other. I'm not going to go number 1, Name of the Wind, that's my favorite book, everything else sucks. Like I said, I divide into categories for a reason. I don't want you guys to think that I think Name of the Wind is better than Red Rising or something like that. This is purely a subjective list of books that resonated for me, what I liked about them, and then things that I didn't like about the others or why they didn't resonate with me, so on and so forth. So let's just go straight into it. First and foremost, I think we should talk about books that I did not finish and books that I didn't like, and they're both over here. So this is the did not finish pile. This is the did not like pile. Overall, I don't think that there is a single bad book in either of these piles. You guys are going to see a lot of things that are going to shock you. Red Rising, I didn't particularly like. The Lost Hero, I didn't really like at all. Between Two Fires, it just didn't work for me personally. And I know a lot of you guys love Between Two Fires, and don't get me wrong. I think it's a fantastic book. I don't think it worked for me. And then over here we have Hyperion, Elantris, and let's see if we can get this one up. The Blade itself. That will do for now. Okay, hopefully you can kind of see all of these books here. Again, no bad books, not a single bad book in this list. Why did none of these books kind of resonate with me? A lot of different reasons. So let's just start with Red Rising over here. Why did this not work for me? I think it was a good book. A lot of people love this. I definitely think I should reread it. I read it kind of early in my reading journey, so I can't say that I was fully ready for it. It was a lot. It was just a lot was happening in this book. I think the first person present tense really kind of took me out of it. It's not Hunger Games in space. There's a lot of politics. And Darrow just did not grab me. He didn't earn any of the reasons for why he was like the main character, like why we should root for him, why should we care about him. I just felt like so much was given to Darrow in this book that I never fully got behind him as a protagonist, and then therefore everything else, including pretty much all of the plot, just kind of lost its appeal to me. I really was just not engaged by Darrow, and I think that's why I didn't have a great time with this book. So maybe one day I'll give Pierce Brown another chance, get back into this, but for now, it just didn't work. Hate to say it. So next, let's jump into The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. This book just did not work for me. I was a big Lightning Thief fan. I was a big Percy Jackson fan. And I was honestly really excited to read this, but in reality, I think that the biggest misstep of this book was not having Percy as the main character, or even any of the alternate protagonists, if I'm correct about that. I think he's pretty much missing this entire book, which is shocking because I think Percy kind of carries the previous series. Obviously, he's the main character. Everyone loves him, but willingly omitting him from this book in particular, no thank you. It just didn't work. I didn't think Jason was a very good protagonist. didn't get behind him. Kind of the same with Darrow. Once I can't get behind the character, it just doesn't work for me. And unfortunately, The Lost Hero was that case. I definitely felt like not having Percy in it was not good. None of the characters really resonated with me. The story was serviceable. It was a fun little journey. It definitely felt like a bit of a copy of The Lightning Thief. I didn't like the memory wipe of Jason. I felt like that was just kind of pointless. Like, why are you introducing this new character to us and then just like, he's just a blank slate. Like that part, usually you wipe a memory later, but who knows? I don't know. The second book in this series, The Son of Neptune, actually was a DNF for me because I felt like just a straight copy of The Lost Hero. Literally, Percy starts that story out with no memory. Same way with Jason. I get it's like, oh, it's a part of the story. It makes sense. It's poetry. It rhymes. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. And it just felt like a repeat and it lost me. So not a big fan of The Lost Hero, to be honest. That's why it's over in this kind of pile, which is a shame because I think The Lost Hero belongs here. I don't think the other two books belong here. I just wish they had worked for me. And before I put that down, let's talk about Christopher Buehlman's Between Two Fires. I have a video up there that I talked about this book extensively. A lot of people did not like that review at all. A lot of people had strong feelings about the fact that this book just didn't work for me. I'd like to reiterate, I don't think it's a bad book. I don't think any of the books here are bad. I think art is subjective. I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Art resonates differently with people. Fortunately, this art did not with me. I liked a lot of the horror aspects in it. I felt like it was a fun journey. I think if I knew more about France and Christian history, I think that I probably would have had a better time with this. I think it needs to be marketed as like alternative historical fiction, whatever. The way that it was sold to me, how it was a Dark Souls-esque book, where it is like, it's literally Dark Souls in literary form. I've seen that comment. I've heard people say that. It's not. It is way more a historical fiction type of novel than it is Dark Souls. So just keep that in mind. If you go into it with a different frame of view that I might have had, then you probably will absolutely love Between Two Fires. Again, I went into it for the wrong reasons and I was punished severely for it, but it just didn't work for me. I still finished it. I love the ending. The ending was honestly fire, if you catch that reference. It's fucked up. There's some dark elements in this book for sure. Really cool monsters, really cool horror aspects. But overall, I wouldn't read it again for a long time. And I can't recommend it to people because it just, again, didn't work for me. But guys, please, Between Two Fires is not a bad book. I'm sorry that I didn't like it personally, but I don't think that it's bad. So Christopher Buehlman still could be a great author for me if I read like The Daughter's War, those other books and that he's written, but that one didn't work. So moving on, because again, I had a review that I put up there, talked about it extensively. So now let's jump into the 3 books I did not finish. We have Hyperion by Dan Simmons, Elantris, Brandon Sanderson, and The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Let's start with Hyperion. See that catch? Start with Hyperion first. Again, I don't think this is a bad book. I just read about 100 pages of it, and I was reading it after I read The Way of Kings down here, and it wasn't the right book for me to read at the time. That's the truth. 100 pages in, and I wasn't seeing it. I don't know if I liked how it was written with like the logs and stuff and like day 37, I'm walking through the forest. I just didn't have that emotional hook. I didn't have the main character hook. I've heard so much about this. I heard it's like the greatest sci-fi story ever. Fortunately, not for me. I did not finish this. If you guys were wondering where the review for this was, it will come eventually. I will read it. I will finish it at some later date. But for right now, unfortunately, it's going to be shelved for a while. because I just can't picture going through those first 100 pages again. I might just pick up where I left off. I don't even remember where that was, but it was definitely somewhere in the first story, like the first kind of tale. If people don't know what Hyperion's about, I don't know if I could even give it a great overview, but I'm pretty sure it's like a collection of different people's, experiences and stories of encountering this like villain, this Terminator kind of bot called the Shrike, I believe. And it's like the Canterbury Tales. They're going through their lives. They're going through their past. And sounds intriguing. Sadly, did not work for me. So there's that. Hyperion did not finish. I wish it had hooked me in those 100 pages, but when I read 100 pages of a book and it's still not grabbing me, I kind of lose interest. Elantris was kind of the same way. Brandon Sanderson ended up being one of my favorite authors once I read The Way of Kings, but Elantris was not the right place to start. This book was tough to get through. A lot of lore being thrown at you without the promise of the payoff. I know the Sanderlanche comes eventually, but to me, it didn't hook me at the beginning. That's what a lot of these books that you see that I dislike are books that just didn't grab me from the beginning. And Elantris was just one of those. I just didn't really care. It was kind of early in my reading experience. So anyways, probably not a bad book. Just didn't work for me. And of course, you guys would probably hate to see this. And I'm so sorry that I didn't finish this. Again, this was kind of early in my reading journey. Some of these books were right before I decided to start my channel. So I didn't really know I wasn't sure how to navigate all this stuff. So I was just kind of jumping into what everyone said. Oh, this is the best fantasy. So let me get into The Blade itself. Big regret, because The Blade itself is just one giant prologue. It's kind of like Fellowship, but it doesn't have Frodo, there. It doesn't have the lore of the Lord of the Rings and the world and the writing style to really pull you in. So it's a lot of setup. And I feel like the pacing of this book is just brutal. But is it a bad book? No. Am I going to read it again? Yes, actually very soon. I don't know if I'm going to read The Devils first. I don't know if I'm going to try this again. Let me know what you guys think I should do. Unfortunately, The Blade itself was just, it was just brutally slow, and I just kind of gave up towards the end, which is a shame, because I heard that the ending is really good, but then it sets up obviously the next two books, which are over here. Before they're hanged, The Last Argument of Kings. I think that's the order. Not exactly sure, but yeah, that is the order. And so I will read The Blade itself eventually. Logan Ninefingers, very, very cool character that I really want to get back into and learn more about him. He's kind of like that barbarian, berserker type character, and that just, any character that carries on a giant sword and fucks people up is just badass to me. So Logan Ninefingers, I want to get back to that character in particular. Glokta, I remember, was a pretty cool character. And then there's a bunch that I'm missing, but those two really stood out to me. And I think that I want to get back and take my time and just enjoy like more of a character study than a plot driven book. Back then, I think I was looking for more of a plot driven book. And unfortunately, I paid the price by reading this and not enjoying it. So again, guys, please don't think I hate any of these books. They just didn't work for me at the time that I read them. None of them, besides maybe The Lost Hero, I have a disdain for. All of them are great in their own right. Yes, all of them. And I do plan on potentially rereading them or finishing some of them in the future. Let's go into some books that I absolutely loved and books that I thoroughly enjoyed. So, Terry Pratchett, Reaper Man. Can't really say much about it without kind of spoiling it, but it follows Death as he is kind of working for like a family. He kind of runs out of things to do. I can't remember exactly why he's sent away, but essentially he's not the Grim Reaper anymore, and he's just like helping out a family. I can't remember the exact details, but I just remember that this book had a lot of wisdom, a lot of laughs. Absolutely love the Death character. If you just want to see Death in a way that the character Death in a way that you haven't seen before, where he's just much more laid back, very philosophical. He's not just the scary guy carrying a scythe. It gives some humanity to death. I think that's awesome. I think you should definitely read Reaper Man if you just want a good pick-me-up palate cleanser. It's fun. I've also read Guards, and this book definitely resonated with me more than I would say Guards did. So that's Reaper Man, Terry Pratchett. Awesome. Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Hilarious book. A bit funky at some points, but overall very easy, great read. The beginning is hilarious. I think, again, if you're just looking for a good palate cleanser, pick up Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you're just looking for a funny, just genuinely laugh out loud funny book, Douglas Adams did it with this, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So next we have Percy Jackson, Rick Riordan, The Lightning Thief. This book is the first book in the Percy Jackson Olympian series. Thoroughly enjoyed this book. I read it when I was a kid. I reread it before I started this channel. And I still think about some parts of it. It's obviously, it doesn't, I would say, hold up as well when you read it as an adult as it probably did when you read it as a kid. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was good. I still thought the whole series was good. I actually loved all the other books in this series too. And I would say like the Battle of the Labyrinth was one of my favorites. I thought that was a really cool premise and idea and world. And then obviously The Last Olympian is amazing too. So definitely check out this series, even if you're adult and you're kind of wondering like, man, what, I'm looking for just something that can get me back into reading. I haven't read anything since I was a kid. If you read The Lightning Thief before, check it out. You might see some stuff that you didn't before. I wouldn't say, again, it doesn't hold up as well as an adult as maybe like Harry Potter does, but it's good. I can't say much about it. Lightning Thief is just, it's a classic, easy to read, fun fantasy novel. Nothing too crazy. Then let's talk about Dune. Frank Herbert. The best sci-fi story book written of all time. This is a work of art. It should probably be put in a museum if it's not already everywhere. Dune is just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Of a work of literature. Is it the most entertaining book out there? No, not even close. I actually don't even think Dune is that entertaining. Is it the most intriguing book that you might ever come across? Is it the deepest book that you might ever read? Yes, more than likely, this book is going to knock your socks off. There's just not any world like it. I've just never read a story like it with the world. I mean, maybe The Lord of the Rings, but for sci-fi, it's the Lord of the Rings, but for sci-fi. That's the best way I can describe Dune. But just without the amazing character relationships and stuff like that. I think Paul Atreides is a good character. Especially once he, his mind is like expanded and stuff, I think he becomes more intriguing to follow. But I think the way he starts out, which is quite intentional, is very flat and passive, and therefore, and then, that's why he ends up growing into becoming this crazy messianic, warlord figure, because that's who he ends up becoming. But I think that at the start, it's going to turn a lot of people away from Paul and Dune in general, just for how kind of bland and boring and passive he is, which is a shame because he ends up becoming such a freaking cool character. Maybe one of the coolest characters I've ever come across. I love when, he can, he has the omniscience. He can see all these different timelines in the future and becomes super smart. That version of Paul is so badass, but in order to get to him, you got to get through a lot. The book can be quite confusing at some points. There's a lot thrown at you. There's a lot of terminology used. It's a lot, but that's kind of the beauty of it. Dune is a beautiful book because it has that depth. It's intriguing. It feels like you're reading a scientific textbook at some points. It feels like Arrakis is a real world. The spice and the, Trade Federation, or whatever, the guild, the space guild, that is controlling the spice and all the politics and everything behind the scenes and setting up, that House Atreides, just screwing them over. There's just so much in this book that it has stood the test of time. It's a fantastic book. Read it if you haven't. Don't expect to just first page out of the rip, I'm just hooked. Unless you really like those slow burn, methodical, almost textbook level world building books, then I think you might really enjoy it. But for most people, I think that Dune, they're going to get turned away from Dune, which is a shame because it's incredible. The first time I ever tried to read it, I could not finish it. I finally came back to it after watching the movies. I do have to say the movies are, in my opinion, way more entertaining, way more fun. It's a much more fun experience to just sit back and watch those movies than actually read the book, because the books just don't have that blow by blow action that you kind of get in the movies, and kind of those really big, entertaining spectacles with just the, if you saw it in IMAX and just the explosions, the incredible CGI. Denis Villeneuve has just knocked it out of the park with that movie. And you just don't get that in this book. I remember expecting the final battle from part 2 to show up, where the nukes get deployed and the sandworms come in and all that stuff. And I think some of it happens in the book, but definitely not to the level that Denis, put up on screen. So that's that. I don't like to compare too much back and forth. Again, I think it's a matter of disappointing yourself if you're expecting the movie in book form. So I think it's good that both versions exist, because I think the movies are more accessible. I think that's a much better starting point for a lot of people trying to get into this world. And I think after you see the movies, as long as you just understand that this is almost entirely different, then I think you'll have a good time with it. But just don't be surprised if you pick this up. Even though I said I loved it, I think it's the greatest sci-fi book ever written, one of the greatest works of literature ever. Don't be surprised if it just doesn't land for you. Doesn't mean this is a bad book. Doesn't mean that you're stupid. Doesn't mean anything else. It's just, this book is just heavy. Okay, just understand that, and you just might not enjoy it as much as some other people. Just real quick, while I have it out here, I have it in this beautiful deluxe edition with the blue pages, and then it says "Fear is the mind killer" on the front. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but I've got them behind me. Absolutely beautiful, as you can see here. Has some really cool art in there. Just thought I would show off this book, because I know the people who are actually sitting here and watching me, watching me talk about books for an hour, probably enjoy looking at them as well. So just thought I would show you guys all that. But anyways, so if you can, pick up the deluxe edition for these books. I think it's well worth it. Ace is the publisher. I'm not exactly sure who made these. Maybe Ace did too, but who knows. Anyways, Dune, fantastic. Enough said. Read it. I loved it. It is a slog, though. It is a slow burn. Talk about slogs. First 500 pages of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson is a slog. The next 400 or 500 at the beginning, next 400 or 500 to the end, amazing. One of the best books I have ever read. It's just such a damn shame, because the latter half of this book is S tier. The front half is S tier for slog. I mean, it is boring. It is tough to get through. The Shallan chapters, oh my God, I hated it. I hated her chapters. I hated that front half of this book. I was just like, oh my God, why am I reading this? And then all of a sudden, when Bridge 4 kind of comes together and they realize that they can actually escape and get out of there, and they kind of start putting a plan together, that is when it really took off for me. Kaladin Stormblessed, the first half of this book, he just kind of feels like he's moping around, which, again, I understand. It's part of his arc, it's part of his character, but come on. It wasn't working for me. The second half, Kaladin Stormblessed became one of my favorite characters ever, like by far. So once I was hooked and once I was behind Kaladin as a main character, this book just took off for me. If you're looking for incredible world building, if you're looking for a really heartfelt, fleshed out, deep, impactful story, you're going to get it in this. Fantastic characters, really, really cool magical items and like the shard plates and the shard blades and all that. It's just like all that stuff was just so sick to me. Blow by blow action. You just really feel like you're in the middle of it. A lot of it feels like a video game. It's cool. It's very cool. I could see this as a movie. I could see it as a series. It would need a huge budget, but I definitely think that, the Stormlight Archive needs to be some type of show or movie. It needs to be in that visual format or video game and not just a book, because it's incredible. Brandon Sanderson really did something special with this book. I loved it. Way of Kings could have been S tier for me if it just wasn't for the slog, but overall I did really, really enjoy this book, and I probably wouldn't reread it again. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the rest of the Stormlight Archive books. We shall see. But for now, at least, The Way of Kings will just kind of always just sit, in my mind as just a really, really good book. But to have to read through that first half again, that's why it's not in this pile. Okay. This looks very unstable, but fuck it. So let's just talk about some of the others here. 2 Cormac McCarthy books, Ursula K. Le Guin, A Wizard of Earthsea, Stephen King's The Gunslinger. We've got The Fellowship of the Ring, J.R. Tolkien. We've got Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban back here. So we've got a lot of books here to talk about. And then finally, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which we will get into later. Let's start on the right here. Stephen King's The Gunslinger. This book inspired my own book that is releasing very soon. But The Gunslinger is a massive, massive inspiration for me. This book, honestly, I would say changed my life. It made me read through the entirety of the Dark Tower series. So there should be a bunch of other books here with this one. I did read all of them. Love that series. I do have a review for it. It's mixed. I can't say that The Dark Tower is the greatest series ever made, but at least to me, The Gunslinger is a damn near perfect book. The beginning can be quite slow for a lot of people, but the ending is one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever read in my life. It changed the way I write, it changed the way I tell stories, it changed the way I viewed stories. It impacted everything. It changed everything for me. The Gunslinger is just one of those books that you have to read it to experience. It's very much like an acid trip. It's a psychedelic book almost. It has those elements where you kind of feel like you're in a dream. You don't really know what's going on, but you're asking a lot of questions. And if you just stick around for the ride and just try and enjoy as much as you can and really, fight till the end, I think you're going to have a really great time with it. I think that a lot of the things that I fell in love with this book were not properly explored or explained further in this series. The Drawing of the Three was also very trippy. I loved that book too. I felt like it kind of lost me towards some of the later books, but Roland Deschain as a character is what kept me going through all of the Dark Tower, even though I didn't love all the books. He is just the coolest, most badass gunslinger type character you could ever, cowboy western character you could ever imagine. The Gunslinger is entirely about Roland. There's some other characters, including the Jake character, who's like a kid in the story. There's some other characters in this, but mainly it focuses on Roland. And Roland is incredible. Roland is the reason why you read the Dark Tower. He's the reason why you read the Gunslinger. He is easily my top 5 characters of all time. I absolutely love Roland. It inspired my own character from the Demon Gunner, which again is releasing soon. So this book changed my life. Absolute S tier. I loved it. Can't say enough about it. Definitely check it out. Stephen King did something really special with this series. I don't say it is the best series in the world, but it has some absolutely incredible highs. And I do feel like that this book was just amazing. Amazing book. So check it out. I'm a massive Gunslinger fan. I'm a massive Dark Tower fan, big Stephen King fan, and I would highly recommend you read this. I'm very happy I did. I've done a lot of videos, which I'll put up there. I've done a lot of videos on the Dark Tower, talking about it and whatnot. So check that out if you're interested. I've talked about Roland as a character in my top 5 fictional characters of all time. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff on this channel that you can see about the Dark Tower. It's a great series. The Gunslinger is a fantastic book, and yeah, S tier, easy. Keeping in line with Westerns, let's talk about Blood Meridian, Cormac McCarthy. This book, oh my goodness, this book is something else. I should probably talk about The Road first because that's what got me into this. Both Cormac McCarthy books. This one is a post-apocalyptic father and son journey story, and this is just an old-fashioned Western that is very, very dark, very violent, very fucked up, but incredibly philosophical, incredibly well written. One of the best books ever created. I mean, Blood Meridian, if you read The Road and you think, oh, The Road is amazing, The Road is like a toned down version of Blood Meridian. There are fucked up things that happen in The Road, but then Blood Meridian just takes it to a whole new level. I think they're both very different books. I think they both stand on their own, and I don't think that they should be compared to each other, but because they're both by the same author, I think it's important to note that they do share a lot of similarities, and I think the Blood Meridian is just kind of building upon The Road in that sense where it's that step up. If you start with The Road like I did and then you read Blood Meridian, I think you're going to absolutely love it. Both books are incredible. The Road is one of the most emotional, saddest, darkest books I've ever read in my life. It's also one of the greatest books I've ever read, possibly the greatest. I love The Road. I've also talked about it extensively in other videos. Again, father-son journeying across post-apocalyptic wasteland. We don't exactly know what happened, but that's not the point. Cormac McCarthy even says it's not about what happened before, it's what are you going to do now that the world is kind of in shambles. So, read it at your own risk. It's intense. It's dark. There are some very messed up things in it. Does that mean it's bad? Or does that mean that you shouldn't read it? Hell no. You should absolutely read it. And I think that if you've kind of stuck with all the books that I've read and you're kind of a fan of the things that I like, you will absolutely love either one of these books. I wouldn't recommend just jumping straight into Blood Meridian. Check out The Road first because Cormac McCarthy's writing style can be a bit jarring. He doesn't use a ton of commas, so his paragraphs will literally just go down the page, and it reads like a campfire story, which I love. There's something about reading a Cormac McCarthy book that just hits different. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what about his writing style that just resonates with me so freaking much, but it does. The philosophy in this is amazing. I can't say enough about both of these two books. I'm not even going to give you an overview about what they are. Blood Meridian, you can't start to explain Blood Meridian even if you tried. It's just that otherworldly and kind of that trippy. This book is definitely a psychedelic experience, if I had to say it. This book is it's life-changing. When you read Blood Meridian, you could read it 20 times and still walk away with new things about it. The judge as a character, as a villain, if he even is a villain, the judge is one of the coolest characters ever created, period. Even though he's very twisted and fucked up. He's like this giant, bald, like pale, ghost white, just Hulk of a character. He's almost not real. He almost exists on a different plane than the other characters. He almost knows he's in a story in a way, and it creates some really cool interactions with like the kid, which is the other character in Blood Meridian. It creates some really cool interactions between the two, and just the world and everything. And the judge, I don't know how else to describe him except as just this like unstoppable otherworldly force, and he feels a bit supernatural at times, and it's just probably one of the coolest reading experiences I've ever had. The judge drew me in. Every scene that he was in stole the show, made me want to continue reading it. It's just like a train wreck that you can't look away from. The judge is an incredible character. Both these books are fantastic. I think I give the edge to Blood Meridian as the better of the two, but I think I enjoy reading The Road more. The Blood Meridian can kind of get difficult to read at some points. It's heavy, just like Dune. It's heavy. The prose in it is heavy. The Road is much more accessible, really enjoyable, and so either or. Same Cormac McCarthy kind of thing that you're going to get out of both books. But both books are S tier for sure for me. That does it for those. Ursula K. Le Guin, A Wizard of Earthsea. If you're looking for just a feel-good, comforting, beautifully written, incredible book, A Wizard of Earthsea is what you're gonna want to go for. It's not anything crazy. And I think that if you read it thinking that this book came out in modern times, you're going to go, oh, it's just a copy of Harry Potter or whatever else. But if you look at this and say, this is kind of like the bridge between Tolkien and other fantasy authors, like Ursula K. Le Guin, it sits right in the middle there. This book came out a long time ago. I don't remember the exact date. I wish I did, but I'll put it up on the screen. But essentially, it came out a long time ago. And so this came out well before Harry Potter, well before a lot of the modern fantasy that everyone knows and loves today, influenced so much. I think it very much influenced The Name of the Wind, even to the point of like, this book talks about naming things, and literally the whole point of The Name of the Wind is learning to name things for like, the magic system and all that. So this book really set the standard. It's S tier. It's the most comforting book. If I ever want to get someone into fantasy, I will just give them this book. Nothing else, not Lord of the Rings, not Way of Kings, nothing like that. This is it. Or Harry Potter, but mostly this. Jed, the main character in this, is fantastic. He goes on an awesome, transformative experience. I really like his arc in this story. It really resonated with me personally. A lot of points that I just sat back while reading this, just like the, philosophy in Blood Meridian. There's a ton in this too, where I just sat back and I was like, damn, like, that really hit hard. So Wizard of Earthsea is one of those books that just reminds you why you love reading fantasy. If you haven't already, please do not hesitate. It's very short. It's very easy to read. It's a breeze. The prose is smooth, flowing. It's incredible. It's just feels like a warm hug. It's incredible. Man, I love A Wizard of Earthsea. Next, let's talk about Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I think Rowling is a great writer. I love these books. I didn't read them when I was a kid. I have a whole video up there that I'll link. It's actually my most viewed video ever, which is just crazy to me because it was just me talking about the books as an adult. So I didn't read them as a kid. I don't have that nostalgia attached. I was a Percy Jackson kid. I also just didn't really read much fantasy back then, which is a shame. I wish I had read more, but I'm trying to catch up now. And Harry Potter was one of those just like rite of passage series that I just felt like I needed to read. And I felt like, the Sorcerer's Stone and the Chamber of Secrets, just weren't the first book, Sorcerer's Stone, was awesome, did hook me and did make me buy into kind of the Harry Potter cult following that I understood it. I thought it was a great kid, children's fantasy tale that adults could read and enjoy too. I understood why it was a worldwide phenomenon, but it still didn't really hit. And then the Chamber of Secrets kind of felt like a rehash of the first book. It also didn't quite land for me. But then The Prisoner of Azkaban came around and I was like, whoa, now I understand what the hype is. Now I understand why people love this series so much. Now I understand why it's the best-selling book series of all time. So once that happened, I was really, really looking forward to reading the rest of the books. Whereas I think after The Chamber of Secrets, I wasn't quite there with it. I just was like, this is fine, but I do see, like, it just feels very immature for me. I'm just not, everyone says like, oh, Harry Potter gets really dark. And I've said a lot about this. Harry Potter does get dark. Harry Potter is not a dark series, nor does it get that dark. It does not get Blood Meridian dark. It doesn't get Prince of Nothing dark, which again, terrible comparisons, not even worth mentioning in all honesty. But when people say, oh, Harry Potter gets dark, trust me, it doesn't. So just don't set yourself up thinking, oh my God, this series is going to get really, really dark. It doesn't. It has some dark elements in it. Some people die, whatever. Voldemort can kind of be, I guess, a scary character, whatever. But it's just not a dark series. And if you don't treat it like a dark series, you're going to absolutely love it. You're going to have a wonderful time with it. So Prisoner of Azkaban is really where it connected with me. Harry started moving from more of a passive character that I thought, at least in the first book or two, to more of an active character with free will, and he's trying to do certain things that are for the benefit of Gryffindor and like the wizarding world as a whole, while also kind of more looking out for himself too. Like he's kind of coming into his role as the chosen one, but he's still looking after his friends first and foremost. And then there's, like I said, wider implications on the wizarding world that you start seeing with this book. But Harry is he's making really good decisions. I think the Dementors are introduced in this book, which was just awesome. Harry just was an awesome character. I don't know what else to say. I really liked Prisoner of Azkaban. The scene with like when he shouts Expecto Patronum. I think it was kind of towards the end. That's what really, really hooked me. I was like, whoa, okay, now, dang, like now I'm feeling the energy behind these books. And Harry, he started resonating with me as a character, and I think it was great. And so Ron and Hermione and Dumbledore and Hagrid and just everyone who just, all the houses kind of coming together, and you just start seeing the world of Hogwarts and the wizarding world. And you just start seeing so much more to this onion that you didn't see before. And the layers are just being peeled back, and Sirius Black and all this stuff. And so, I don't know, it's S tier. I love The Prisoner of Azkaban. It was a great story. I think the time travel aspect of it was a bit, and did we really need it? I don't think so. I don't think that the reveals at the end with the time travel and everything just it didn't hit as hard as I kind of was expecting, to be honest. So, and again, I'm sorry if you guys haven't read this and you're like, oh my God, spoilers, but yes, there is time travel in this. I feel like everyone should probably know that at this point. And again, it's not like a huge point that there's time travel, but I just thought I would just mention it, because it does. This is a time travel book kind of towards the end, whatever. But long story short, I love this book. Love Harry Potter. Big fan. Like I said in my review, I think it's a great series. This book was a 10 out of 10 for me. Even as an adult, no nostalgia attached. So I can't even imagine reading this as a kid. You'd probably just be enthralled by it. So it really worked for me. Love Prisoner of Azkaban. J.K. Rowling definitely did something very, very special with Harry Potter. And anyone who says Harry Potter's overrated or this or that just obviously hasn't read it. It's not that it's the greatest book series in the world. It's just a damn good series, a damn good book. So anyways, I love Harry Potter. That's that. Let's talk about The Fellowship of the Ring, and then we'll finish off with The Name of the Wind. So, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have a video review up there. Actually, I think I started the same way. If you are just looking for comprehensive, jaw-dropping, deep fantasy that doesn't explain too much, just the right amount. I wouldn't say it's on the level of like Malazan, where it's just throwing you into the deep end. It does explain enough. You do follow it very well. But if you were looking for quintessential epic fantasy, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring is it. I haven't read the other two books. To be honest, guys, it's actually taken me quite a while to even pick up Two Towers again and keep reading that, just because I've been working so hard on my own book, trying to get that out there for you guys. The Lord of the Rings as a series has definitely, I've kind of pumped the brakes on it just because it's heavy. It's a lot. But at least for the Fellowship of the Ring, S tier, I couldn't put it anywhere else, guys. Even though the Tom Bombadil chapters can be quite weird, even though the beginning has a good amount of slog in it, if you'd call it that. But I say, you know, if you enjoy the world building, I don't think you're going to view it as slog. I think you're actually just going to enjoy it for what it is, a damn good book. But I would say that for this book in particular, it is just the gold standard of epic fantasy. It set the stage, set the bar. No other book, I think, will ever touch what this book and what this series accomplished. No other author will. I just think it's one of those that it just can't be replicated again. It's like those old, you know, cathedrals that you see, and just like the Sistine Chapel, and you go in there and you look at the art on the ceiling, and yeah, with modern technology we could recreate that stuff, but does it hit the same? You know, does the creation of Adam, does it hit the same if you look on it, you know, created by AI, or if you look at it, you know, up on a roof and you're just staring up at this beautiful art like that? That's what I mean by this. Yes, epic fantasy can still be created today. It can still be made. There's still incredible world building, incredible stories being told. But is it the Lord of the Rings? No. Will it ever be the Lord of the Rings? Unfortunately, no. Is it still a damn good book? Yes, but is it the Lord of the Rings? No. So read the Lord of the Rings, because you're not going to get anything else like it. It's incredible. It's one of the best epic fantasy, you know, the Fellowship is one of the best epic fantasy books I've ever read, maybe the best, just from a pure page by page writing style, world building, and character study standpoint. You're not going to get anything better than this. Gandalf is maybe the coolest wizard ever created. Frodo is an awesome main character to kind of follow. You've got the other hobbits. You've got Sam in there, Pippin. You got like Boromir. You got Legolas. You got Aragorn. Like, you got all these just iconic characters all coming together and going on this badass journey. There's a chapter in here, the Council of Elrond chapter, and the audiobook was literally 2 hours long for one chapter, and it's purely a lore dump. It is that incredible. It's that crazy. So yeah, pick it up. Read it if you haven't. I think everyone should read it. It's one of those rite of passage books, just like Harry Potter. You know, you got to. If you're an author, if you're a writer, you should probably read it. I think it'll do you some good. It definitely helped me out. Definitely did me some good for sure. It definitely changed the way I viewed stories, changed the way I wrote, changed a lot of things. It's Tolkien. This is a masterpiece. Classic for a reason. All right, this has gotten a bit out of hand. Let's hope we can kind of make it through without this falling, but okay, let's just jump right into it. So, last but not least, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the first book in the King Killer Chronicle. For those who do not know, there are only 2 books in the trilogy that are released. The third book we are still waiting on. We still don't know if it will ever come out. Patrick Rothfuss kind of gone radio silent. There's a lot of different reasons why that could be. I'm not going to get into them right now. Personally, I don't know. Personally, I don't care. It's not my business. He doesn't owe us that third book. Would it be awesome to have it? Yes. Do we absolutely need it? No. The Name of the Wind by itself is the great one, maybe the greatest book I've ever read. This book made me feel like a kid again. This book was a journey. Beautiful. Every sentence resonated with me. Every line resonated with me. Every aspect of this book resonated with me. Can Koth be a terrible character at points? Will some people hate Koth? Yes. Yes, they will. Does that make it a bad book? No. Do you have to love the main character to like this book? Probably. The main character in this book will drive you mad, or you'll really enjoy reading from his perspective. For me, The Name of the Wind is a story about failure and picking yourself up from those failures and not giving up. It's a slice of life book. It's a gigantic slice of life book. If you wanted a book that follows kind of maybe a narcissistic Harry Potter in a fantasy world where he doesn't have Hermione and Ron and everyone else, and it's a bit more adult and it's a bit more mature, and you want a magical school and you want magical studies and a magic system and learning about the world and the lore and the magic and everything, you're going to absolutely love this book. Like, you need to read this ASAP. If you don't want a slow, kind of meandering, frolicking through the flowers type book, then you should not read this. If you are very sensitive to annoying and abrasive main characters, you should not read this. The Name of the Wind is not going to be a good book for you. I hate to say it. Koth, to me, is one of my favorite characters in fantasy. Do I find him annoying at times? Yes. Can I see why a lot of people won't like him? Absolutely. Did he work for me? Sure. I thought he was great. I really enjoyed Koth as a character. I didn't find him as bad as a lot of people thought he was. Yeah, he's kind of a know-it-all. Yes, he's kind of a Gary Stu. Does that mean he's a bad character? No, not at all. Does he have faults? Yes. Does he fail and mess up? Yes, absolutely. But a lot of people aren't going to like him. I can't change that. And I can't deny it either. I can't say that, just ignore that. Just ignore the first 300 pages where he's annoying and then he gets better. Like, no, he's probably never going to get better to you as a character. He's kind of the same person from the beginning to the end. He doesn't have that much of a transformative arc, in my opinion. And then the book kind of just ends kind of randomly, kind of just on not like a cliffhanger necessarily, but just kind of like we're not done with this world and we're just kind of in it. It's kind of like the, I can't even compare it to like the end of a first season of a show, but I don't know if there is any comparison. It's just like, it's like ending like your save game of like Skyrim, like in the middle of just like walking to a new town, and you just kind of pause it. And then like the second book is just like The Wise Man's Fear. Haven't read it yet, but from what I've heard, it's just more of that, just resuming, pressing play, jumping back into it. It's kind of like pausing in the middle of a movie, not at the climax, not at the end, but just kind of somewhere in the middle. That's where The Name of the Wind ends. A lot of people don't really like that, but I thought it was okay because I just enjoyed the journey. It's a giant, holy shit. It's a giant slice of life book. That's it. Like, just a gigantic look into Koth's life. And you're either going to like that or you're not. And that's going to be the make or break it for you. I can't go into a ton of detail on what this book is about besides just Koth's life. That's it. So, yeah. Name of the Wind, one of the greatest fantasy book I think I've ever read. The book that just again reminds me why I love reading books, why I started this channel, why I love talking about books. The Name of the Wind gives me like a warm, fuzzy feeling. There's nothing like just curling up and just like sitting on the couch and just going, flipping through this book and just tearing through it. And honestly, like I had to pace myself, which I usually don't have to do. I had to pace myself to be like, okay, I can't read all this like right now. I wanted to kind of spread it out, or I'm going to read this all in one day, which a lot of people will do that. But I personally don't like to read books that quickly, especially when I have to make a video on it. I've made a review on The Name of the Wind. But if you're really still on the fence, I don't know what else to say to you. It's the prose in this is probably the best I've ever come across, aside from Le Guin or Tolkien or McCarthy. Rothfuss did something spectacular, incredible, mind-blowing with this book. I don't know how he did it. It feels like it shouldn't exist, especially because a third one hasn't come out. So it's like, was this just kind of a one and done thing? Like, again, just like the Lord of the Rings, like, will we never see something like this again? I don't know. I don't think so. It seems like a basic book. It's just kind of a kid going through his life until he gets to university, and then he's in the university and all this stuff, learning magic, learning sympathy, falling in love, failing at love, all that kind of stuff. It should be basic on paper. It should be a basic story, but it's not. It's quick. It's snappy. The pacing is incredible. Every page, every sentence flows. I've never read a book besides maybe A Wizard of Earthsea that has just flowed like The Name of the Wind. It feels like a song, like a melody. It's just incredible. Man, I love The Name of the Wind. That's all I got to say. So that about does it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I love talking about books with you all. I love making these videos. I'm going to hopefully upload on a more routine basis now that I'm back in LA, now that I'm back making these again. I've got a new book coming out. It's called The Demon Gunner, The Darkness Grows Within. I will have a link for that down below if it's up for pre-orders by the time this video comes out, or if it's available. I'll also put the release date in the bio. I'll put the release date at the end of this video. It is a horror fantasy Western. It is directly inspired by The Gunslinger, by Blood Meridian, God of War, Dark Souls. It's horror. It's got a lot of monsters. It's demonic. It's very dark. The darkest thing I've ever written. I kind of wrote it in response to The Gunslinger and Between Two Fires, and just wanting more of those horror elements, more of the monsters, more of that like magical fantasy horror that I'm just itching for. And I just couldn't really find it with the things that I was reading. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to just create my own world, and I'm going to create a story that hits all these points that I want it to. And hopefully that'll resonate with you guys. So that's The Demon Gunner, The Darkness Grows Within. It'll be coming out probably within a few days after this video drops. So hopefully it's out. I think it will be. It'll definitely be out by the time the majority of you guys are watching this video. So check the description below. That's where the link to it will be. So excited to get that out into the world. I will make a video on it, talking about it and whatnot. If you should read it or not, things like that. So yeah, that pretty much does it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you saw some of your favorite books. Sorry if you didn't like the fact that I didn't like, some of these books or whatever, didn't finish them, but I promise I'm not a hater of any of these books. I think it's just all art. And as long as it resonates with you, in my opinion, that's what matters. So anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let's just keep talking about books and keep the ride going. But thanks for joining me today. Thanks for sticking around for this ride so far. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.